This is another episode of Self-Advocacy in Action TV show. I am your beautiful host, Engelic Everett. I've got the opportunity and I'm thrilled to be sitting and chatting with my special guest, Miss Katherine McLaughlin. She is the founder, CEO, and lead trainer of Elevate Us training. Thank you, Katherine.
Thanks for having me.
So, who are you? And tell me about yourself.
Yes. Well, I'm Katherine McLaughlin, and I've been a sexuality educator and trainer for over 25 years. And that's a little bit about me.
Okay. What city are you from?
Well, I grew up in Ithaca, New York, so I'm a New Yorker, just like you. And now I live in just outside of Keene, New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been here about 30 years.
Whoa, that's a
Yeah,
lot of years.
it is a lot of years.
How you like the city?
I like it. It's not a big city, Keene. It's a nice size city. Um, it's nice. It works for me.
What uh wait yeah. What year have you worked at Planet Parenthood?
Yeah. So I started working for Planned Parenthood around like 1989, I think is when it all began. And I worked there as a sexuality educator and trainer, mostly in Keene, New Hampshire. And I was there 22 years. And then when I left Planned Parenthood, I was doing a lot of work around sexuality and disability. And when I was at Planned Parenthood, I also acquired a disability. I had a spinal cord injury. And so I use a wheelchair now. And that just got me very interested in sexuality and relationships and disability. So that's when my work really started, was at Planned Parenthood. And then after that, I had other jobs, and I would just do some sexuality, developmental disability trainings on the side here and there, not a big focus. But about 3 years ago, I started Elevatus training. And so I've been doing that since, and I work full time for Elevatus training.
Oh, okay. It's a good thing you mentioned that because that's actually my next question.
Ah.
So, what about Elevate Us training?
Yeah. Well, first thing is we tried to come up with a creative name for it, rather than developmental disability sexuality training. So we came up with Elevate Us, or Elevatus, to make the point that we're always trying to elevate people with disabilities to have healthy, full lives. And so we came up with Elevate Us.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very unique name.
Yeah.
Um, when did you get started with the company?
Yeah, so it was about 3 years ago. And what the focus is helping other people talk with others about sexuality and relationships. So it could be professionals that are direct support providers, or case managers, or maybe parents, or even self-advocates themselves are sexuality educators. They might be teaching other people about this topic. So we wanted to make sure that everyone had the tools and resources to be able to do that and do it effectively, and make a difference.
Yeah, that's good because I always say, when like if I go out, whatever, I always say, that we are all unique in our own
Mhm.
word, and and never give up. So
Nice.
and we
Nice.
make a difference.
Yeah, awesome. That's great.
S- Oh, and why did you become interested in in this work?
Yeah, for a few reasons. I mean, one, I mentioned that I have a physical disability. So all of a sudden people were treating me differently, even though I was the exact same person. So I thought, what's that about? But also people with disabilities often don't get sexuality education. People think of them as, not needing that information, or thinking of them as children when they're adults. And so they think, oh, you don't need that. Or even that they're oversexed and all they want to do is have sex. So let's keep information away from them. And so there's a lot of negative consequences of not having information. Somebody might get pregnant when they don't want to be pregnant, or someone might be abused, or, so how do I, help people get the knowledge and skills so that they can lead healthy, pleasurable, safe lives and be in relationships if that's something that they want.
Right. I agree with you about that.
Good. And
Okay.
I don't know if you receive sexuality education like in high school or anything, but a lot of
Yes, I did.
you did?
Yes.
A lot of self-advocates tell me that they didn't, that they were in the mainstream health class and they were removed during the sexuality unit so they could learn
that's
about
weird.
nutrition. And yeah. So a lot of people feel like they don't have information and skills so that they can live healthy lives. So I think that's why it's so important.
What does Elevate Us training do?
Yeah, so we provide trainings where people can become sexuality educators and trainers. We also sometimes lead classes, but we also provide educational materials to help other people teach sexuality. So I have a sexuality education curriculum that people can purchase and use to teach people with developmental disabilities about sexuality and relationships.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you the elite trainer, and can anyone join the classes?
Yeah. So I think probably the best way for people to find out about Elevatus training is to go to our website, because there's lots of different kinds of trainings that are available. We also have an online training too, where you take the course by yourself, whenever you have time. And that's for professionals, and how do you teach sexuality and talk about sexuality, and one for parents as well, and how to talk to your own kids. So there's lots of different trainings. And sometimes I do actual sexuality education classes, but those are more, those aren't really listed on the website. It's usually an organization will have me come in and do a class. And we're doing less of it because of COVID, but I actually just did a class, sexuality education class for people with developmental disabilities online all year. We did 22 weeks of class.
Oh, it's a good thing you mentioned that, because I actually have a question about that.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, like, do you do virtual classes?
We do, yeah. And we have this past year, all of our trainings and classes have been online. So yeah, we're able to do that.
Oh, well, that's good. Could anyone join these virtual classes?
Well, it depends on the class. Like if it's a training, they have to sign up for it and pay for it to attend. Sometimes if people need a scholarship or need some help, like if a self-advocate wanted to attend a training, I would help them be able to attend, if the barrier was the money part. Or sometimes professionals, the barrier is money, so we help them get to the training. But most people sign up and pay for the trainings.
How much is the classes? I mean, the training,
Really,
I mean.
again, it's really different depending on what it is. So, there's a range. But for example, we have a 3-day training that many professionals come to. We've had a few self-advocates attend as well. And it's 3 days of training, and it's $1,999. $1,095, and you receive 3 curriculum as well as the training. So it's for people who want to go back to their communities and their organization and teach others. So yeah, so they have all the tools and the skills to go back and teach others. But that's just one of them. If we teach classes, the ones we did this past year, self-advocates didn't have to pay at all. It was free for self-advocates. So sometimes that's, that's usually how I do it, is I don't make self-advocates pay. And usually the organization hires me to do the class. So they pay me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So where can we find you? Like, where can we find you, or well, you always mention about the classes. So where can we find you?
Yeah. So my website would probably be the best way to find me, which is Elevatus, which is ELEVATUS training, TRAINING.com. And
thank you for that.
Yeah, and there's an email people can use if they want to do that, or a phone number. Yeah.
So what is this new project that you were telling me about?
Yeah. So do you know the Developmental Disability Planning Council? Have you heard of them before?
I don't think I have. I don't think so.
Yeah, so every state receives federal funds to work and support people with developmental disabilities. And this is New York's group that does that. And they gave us money to provide trainings throughout New York. And so we've got 3 different types of trainings. The first one that we did this spring was we trained staff to go back to their agency and train other staff on how to talk with people they support around sexuality and relationships. This fall, we're going to be doing parent trainers. So a parent of a young or grown child with a developmental disability that wants to teach other parents how to talk to their own children, they'll attend a training in the fall. And then next spring, and this is the part I really wanted to tell you about, and anyone that might be listening to your show, is we're going to train self-advocate and professional teams. So a self-advocate and a professional will come as a team, and they'll learn how to teach sexuality classes to other people with developmental disabilities. They'll get a curriculum, but we want to make sure it's people that are really interested in learning about this and teaching others. And those trainings will be free because they're paid for by the Developmental Disability Planning Council. But if anyone is interested, they can go to elevatustraining.com and send us an email, and we'll make sure they get information about it.
How can you train people with disabilities, developmental disabilities, when they might feel uncomfortable talking about the topic?
Yeah, right. Well, I think, a lot of people feel uncomfortable talking about the topic. So it's not unusual for people to come to trainings and feeling a little like, I'm nervous about this. This is uncomfortable. And so I think just acknowledging that, we all struggle with it. But the other thing is, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So if you're leading classes, the more you teach, the more comfortable you get. So you just need a lot of practice. And that makes people feel better, practicing at the training, and then they go back and they try it out, and they'd be providing us some really important education to others. So I think people really understand the need for it, and then they attend training like, okay, teach me how to do this. I'm uncomfortable, and they just have to practice and get skills, and people get really comfortable.
Well, I guess the reason why I'm asking that question is because me and you can talk about it, but other people might not want to talk about it.
Right.
Because, it's their preference, so.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think if someone's really uncomfortable and doesn't want to talk about it, the training might not be right for them. It's usually someone that goes, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to learn how to be a sexuality educator. Um, Even if they feel a little uncomfortable, they really want to learn about it and teach others.
And I guess the only reason why I asked that was because, some people can be judgmental as well, too, when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah. So we don't want people to come if they feel judgmental, like, oh,
Hmm.
people with disabilities shouldn't be learning about this, or no, there's certain skills you have to have as a sexuality educator, and one of them is to be non-judgmental. Um,
Well, that's good to know.
yeah, yeah,
And what about acceptance? Like, like some people might not be accepted, like if they're like I say like queer.
yeah.
They might not they might not be accepted from other people or their families.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So do you mean someone that's queer that might want to become a sexuality educator, or how do
I
we make
I, I
sure?
guess what I'm talking about, like uh I guess what I'm trying to say is like if they wanna like tell their parents and their parents don't want to accept them for who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I'm kind of coming from.
I get you. Yeah, yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
about that.
No, that's all right.
Oh,
Yeah. So if somebody is trying to come out to their parents, or does come out to their parents and their parents don't accept them, that can be really hard and really painful. But I think what's important, and I think you said it earlier, is that, everybody's unique, everybody's different. You are who you are, and you're okay. No matter what, even if people don't accept you, you can accept yourself and find people that do accept you and have
I
them in
agree
your
about
life.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Because there's a lot of people that actually been coming out this month and doing Pride Month. There's a
yeah,
lot of pop stars that actually came out. So
yeah,
and
yeah,
I was
right,
really surprised. I was really shocked and surprised about that. I'm like, oh my god, what?
right, right. Yeah, because when we see people come out, if you're gay or lesbian or transgender, then you feel like it's easier for you to come out too and talk about it.
I guess the only reason why I mentioned that, like I mentioned about, I'm actually going to play on sexuality, so
Oh, right.
I really thought, that I was really, like I said, in shock because some of the pop stars I kind of know, so I was like, oh my god. So
Right.
I just like I kind of put that out there,
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Well, we can't, right? We can't assume anybody, everyone is heterosexual or straight. People, like you said, are unique and different and
yes they
part of who
are.
someone is. Yeah,
Um, do you support the LGBTQ community?
we do. Yeah. All of our materials and trainings are inclusive of LGBTQ individuals. So an example might be, like, when we talk about trainings, we talk about not assuming, like if you're talking to a woman, not assuming that she wants to be with a man, like, do you want to have a boyfriend? Or, we don't assume that. We might say something like, do you want to be in a relationship, or do you want to have a sweetheart or a partner? And so we don't assume the gender of the person that they might want to be in a relationship with. We also have scenarios in the curriculum that are same-sex scenarios. So that's how we're inclusive. And many people who are LGBTQ said that when they were in sexuality education classes, they feel invisible because no one talks about them. They just say, oh, a man and a woman, And so I don't want people to feel invisible in my classes. I want everyone to get access to the information so they can make choices in their lives. And so that's really important. We also have a training that we have 2 trainers who are part of the LGBTQ community that are training others on how do you support people with developmental disabilities who are LGBTQ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, since you already asked that, you already answered the why already, because I was going to ask
Okay.
why, but
All
you
right.
answered that question already.
Great.
So I
Great.
don't have to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the LGBTQIA? What that stands for?
Yeah. Right. Some people call it the alphabet soup. There's so many letters now.
Yes, it
But
is.
yeah, so L stands for lesbian, which is when 2 women are in a sexual romantic relationship. So that's lesbian. Gay is when it's 2 men, mostly. And B meaning bisexual, so that someone might be attracted to a male or a female, or, you know, different people. Not everyone, they're not attracted to everybody, but they're open to and they're very attracted to men, women, or even transgender sometimes as well. Transgender is when somebody's sex assigned at birth doesn't match how they feel inside. So, for example, if somebody's born and they look at their sexual parts and they say, oh, it's a boy. And then later on, when the person grows up, they start to feel like a girl. And so that's what transgender means, that what they assigned you at birth when you were born doesn't match how you feel inside.
Okay.
So that's transgender. Q stands for queer or questioning too. So if someone's thinking, gee, maybe I'm gay or lesbian or trans, they're questioning that, they're thinking about it. I stands for intersexual, which is when a baby's born, we look at their sexual parts, and it's hard to tell whether they're male or female. They have a different combination, so they're called intersex.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is A, which stands for asexual, which means that people are not attracted to people in a sexual way.
Mm-hmm.
They might be attracted to someone in a romantic way and want to be in a relationship, but they don't feel those sexual feelings. Like they consider themselves asexual.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, you already answered the other question
Okay.
that I was going to ask, which I was going to say, what do it mean? But you already answered that question already for me. So
Thank you.
I don't have
Yeah.
to go into
Right. What
asking
it
that
all means.
question.
Yeah, but I think what it describes is the different sexual orientation, so who you're attracted to, and it also describes different biology, so sexual parts, and then the last part is different gender identities that people might feel. So it covers all of that.
Now, I do have this weird question.
Okay.
What if someone is not queer, but they have fantasies about being queer?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different things that come into somebody's sexual orientation.
Mm.
And sometimes people do have fantasies or dreams, but they don't identify as gay or lesbian. I think it's for people to sort of sort out themselves.
Mm.
But if you're in a relationship, who are you or who do you want to be in a relationship with or be sexual with is one part of it as well. And sometimes people, because there's a lot of pressure to be straight or heterosexual, so sometimes people might deny their feelings and push them aside to try to fit in. But your feelings are your feelings, and all of those are okay. So I don't know if you know that, like when people used to be born and they were left-handed, we used to tie their hands behind their back and try to teach them to be right-handed.
Oh.
And now we accept people as left-handed, right? And we have catalogs. People can get scissors for left-handed people and all that. So that's kind of the same with somebody who's gay or lesbian, is people are who they are. And as we're, through Pride Month, we're doing a lot of work around, letting people know that they're accepted, that everybody's different, and you're fine the way you are.
I agree about that. Yes.
I'm glad you and I agree.
Because I do have a couple, which I'm not gonna put out there, but I do have a couple of friends and staff that I used to work with and stuff like that, and they actually have that lifestyle, and I really don't mind, because, like I said, I support the community.
Yeah.
And yes, I do support the community, that community.
Yeah.
And I really do care about these folks that, that I socialize with. And love is love.
Right. So true.
So what are you doing for Pride Month?
Yeah, well, we do a lot around social media. So we're posting things about the LGBTQ community and individuals with IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities. So different, articles and graphics. And the two trainers that do our training for us, one of them is a self-advocate who's part of the LGBTQ community. And she wrote an article on her story and how people can support people who are LGBTQ and are individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So we're getting that out on our our email list and all of that. So we're just getting lots of information out there for people.
And how are you going to support the Pride Month?
Yeah, I mean, I think really just doing those things that I mentioned, the social media and activities that might be, I recently got an email from someone about using pronouns.
Oh, okay.
And so we're putting that out to our group, our email list, so people can learn about using pronouns and asking people their pronouns. And that's a way to support people from the LGBTQ community.
Now, there is another question I wanted to ask.
Yes.
And then I'm just going to wrap it up. What is pansexual?
Oh, yeah.
I've been hearing that word.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask that question.
Yep. So it's a sexual orientation. So heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, asexual, we talked about, and pansexual. Sometimes people will use pansexual like bisexual, that you're not just attracted to one sex, but really people who are pansexual, it means that they're attracted to the person, and it's okay if their sexual parts don't match their gender identity, or they're open to being in relationships with people, all different kinds of people.
Well, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of Self-Advocacy and Action TV show. And I am your amazing host, Engelic. I want to say thank you to Katherine for coming out of your busy schedule for me to interview you. Thank you, Katherine.
You're welcome. It was great.
Now, don't forget to use SA in Action to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you, Katherine.
Thank you, Engelic.